Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a My 2 Cent video for this week, for the week of January 23rd to the 29th, where I take a look at a couple of stories that caught my attention and give you my thoughts and my opinion. And we have 4 stories to cover, including what supposedly is reports of where the sales of the Xbox Series systems and the Nintendo Switch currently stand at this time, though, although nothing 100% official to be exact. Regarding the future of Call of Duty following the acquisition by Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard and all, we've learned the report that EA may not be entirely done with Star Wars just yet, and a decision that some of the employees at Raven Software have made and Activision has recently responded to. If you're interested in where I got a lot of these information or where the source of these information came from, links will be in the description of this YouTube video, or you could or assuming you're watching this on YouTube though. Before we get started, I do want to do something called the Quick My 2 Cents. Stories that caught my attention, but I'm not going to go into a huge amount of details or anything like that. The first one is that it looks like the development team, the person who helped create the Monkey Ball and the Yakuza series though, has now formed his very own studio though. Now, I'm sure I don't know 100% know his name or know how to say it correctly, but I'm sure you're aware he left Sega and went with Tencent and all. So I'm still a little iffy with Tencent being involved, but it'll be very interesting to see what games that he puts out with his very own studio though. My hope is that some of those games come to the Nintendo Switch, but time will tell if that truly happens or not though. We learned that Platinum's Soul Cresta, the game that was sort of an April Fool's joke from Platinum last year, that was part of the Platinum 5 that, well, let's just say didn't exactly sit well with everyone out there, to be exact, is preparing to come to the Nintendo Switch and I believe other platforms as well on February 22nd. I'm very curious to see what they're doing, what Platinum is doing with this type of game though. It's something I'll probably keep an eye out though, while I patiently wait for Bayonetta 3 and all. We also learned that supposedly Apple may have been poaching some Xbox engineers for them to help what Apple seems to be doing is trying to enter maybe the video game console race. Now, nothing has been confirmed at this time though, and supposedly the Apple may have just passed it by this altogether. Supposedly Apple did enter back in the 90s in the console race, but the console they put out bombed really bad, and they haven't really entered that race since then though. So we don't know if they're still considering entering the console race, or whether or not they are just not even going to bother with it compared to where Microsoft is right now in terms of the console race, to be exact. We also learned that supposedly Xbox might be doing a remaster collection for one of their franchises, similar to what we saw with the Halo Master Chief Collection though. Some people are speculating it could be the Gears collections, others are thinking possibly the Fable collection, so it remains to be seen whether that happens or not though. So we'll have to wait and see if Microsoft makes any official announcement though, maybe at the Summer Games Fest, or maybe when they do their own event, to be exact though. We also learned that supposedly Crytek has announced a teaser trailer for their upcoming game, which is they have announced Crysis 4, another entry in the Crysis series though. The current remaster games are available on pretty much every system right now, including the Nintendo Switch, to be exact. Supposedly the game is still in development, and it might be a while till it comes out. No word on what system it might be on though, and no word whether or not this will make its way to the Nintendo Switch or not though, although it will be very interesting to see what kind of position Nintendo will be by the time Crysis 4 does come out though. We learned that Blizzard has just recently announced a new survival game that they're working on for both PC and consoles though. As of right now, they are currently hiring people, to be exact though. No word on whether and when this game will come out, and it's unclear if this game will be released on other systems, like what we saw with when Microsoft purchased Bethesda and they allowed Deathloop and Ghostwire Tokyo to be released on the PS4 and PS5 because they were contractually obligated though. No word if this game is in that kind of situation or not, so we'll have to wait and see. see, though. We learned that Retro Studio is still hiring for people to develop Metroid Prime 4, though. While it's great that they are hiring more people to help with this game, though, it does kind of feel like Nintendo should have gone with Retro Studios in the first place, though. So it's probably going to be a while until we hear more about Metroid Prime 4. I would like to hear something about it or see some sort of footage this year, but I'm not holding my breath on that one. We have heard rumors about a remaster of the first game, but we've also heard at the same time rumors that they've completed, that the Metroid Trilogy collection was completed and we're just waiting for Nintendo's approval and all. So this rumor has kind of gone back and forth in terms of that one, though. But 4, I mean, it might be a while, though. This is kind of disappointing because I would love to see 4 on the... We're willing to play Metroid Prime 4 on the Nintendo Switch right now, considering how well Metroid Dread did last year, though. We also learned that supposedly there is a report coming out, at least this is from Jeff Grubb, that Microsoft, or the Xbox team, may be working on a Monster Hunter style type of a game. The idea, at least according to what we've heard from Jeff Grubb, who can be right on some things and wrong on certain things as well, that supposedly they want to do something because of Game Pass, because they don't want to like shell out a whole lot of money for, you know, Capcom's Monster Hunter game to be on, specifically on Game Pass, although Monster Hunter World was recently on it before it eventually left Game Pass, to be exact, though. No word on, nothing confirmed at this time, though. It'll be interesting to see if Microsoft announced this or not, though. Hopefully, this doesn't go down the route of what we saw with Scalebound, though. I really think they should bring that game back. I really do. I think, given where the Xbox systems are right now, and given the direction Microsoft is going, I really think this would be a good time to consider reviving Scalebound. That would be really great and all. And last but not least, though, we have two parts that has to do with Mortal Kombat in general. The first one has reported that supposedly the folks at NetherRealm may have leaked that they are working on Mortal Kombat 12, which kind of does make sense considering how well Mortal Kombat 11 did and all that stuff. So it'll be very interesting to see if this is true or not, though. As for whether Mortal Kombat 12 will make its way over to the Nintendo Switch, again, we don't know, but from what I understand, Mortal Kombat 11 did do very well on the Nintendo Switch, so it's certainly not out of the realm of possibility that they could bring Mortal Kombat 12 to the Nintendo Switch, but time will tell if that happens, though. We'll still have to wait to see if this game is true or not, and whether or not it will be making its way to the Nintendo Switch or not, though, to be exact. And last but not least, we have learned that the sequel to 2021, or I think 2021 to be exact, of the Mortal Kombat reboot is apparently in the works. I mean, that's right, they're working on a sequel to the Mortal Kombat reboot, though. Supposedly, the movie did very well at the box office, though. Some people, it got a mixed response for some folks, although I've heard one person pointed out that Rotten Tomatoes said, it's a good movie as long as you turn your brain off, to be exact, though. I have yet to see the movie, though, but from what I understand, not only did well at the box office, it did well on HBO Max, so, I mean, it's sort of interesting to see how this sequel will do. It might do well, it might do poorly, to be exact, but from what we understand, though, one of the writers for the upcoming Marvel show on Disney Plus, Moon Knight, which I'm looking forward to watching, though, is certainly writing the script, though. So we'll have to wait and see how the sequel to the Mortal Kombat reboot turns out, though. Okay, with the quick My 2 cent part now done, we'll get started with our first story, and this one has to do with Raven Software, though. Now, before the acquisition of Activision Blizzard by Microsoft, though, Activision Blizzard was in a very, very bad spot, though. The story started to break out last year with the reports of allegations of how the culture there, the workforce, and the whole situation from the treatment of women to how some employees were not treated very well, to be exact, though. And some of the studios, like Raven Software, got caught in the middle of it as well, as some of these employees were let go by Activision Blizzard. Well, recently, though, the employees, some of these folks who test, video games out, though, recently has come out and announced that they have decided to form a union and all. In a article published, let me get it out. Where is it? Okay, here we go. Excuse me. In an article published by VGZ, it reads that, quote, the 34-strong group called Game Workers Alliance has officially asked the parent company Activision Blizzard to recognize the union, which would be the first ever at a major North American game development studio. A Communication Workers of America spokesman told Polygon that 78% of eligible QA workers voted to support unionization. Led by members of Raven's QA team, a number of Activision employees have been striking since early December in protest of plan to downsize the studio QA development. Last month, Activision Blizzard informed 12 QA workers that their contracts would be terminated on January 28th. The layoff would reduce Raven's QA team of 40 staff, which mainly work on Warzone, by just over 30%, according to protesters. It claims the affected staffs were let go in good standings, meaning they haven't underperformed or committed any sackable offenses, and that the dismissal were announced at a time when Warzone was earning $5.2 million daily. Prior to the announcement of the layoff, it claimed staffs were told on multiple occasions by Raven leadership that they were positive development changes coming, something which was allegedly used to explain an absence of promotion and raise originally expected by March 2021, though. Immediately after work in early December, we got together. Some people came over to my house, and we confirmed one another, and we cried together. Raven QA tester Ona Ronstadt told the Washington Post. Apologize for not saying his name correctly, though. And then over the coming days, we got together and said we can't just be silent about this. We can't just let this happen, and we finally decided to strike. We've had a real coming together at Raven's QA Quality Assurance after the beginning of the strike in early December, and we're really excited that we created this beautiful union as an outcome of this. Now, over at Windows Central, though, apparently Activision Blizzard has responded to the unionization and has basically told Polygon this, saying, quote, in a statement to Polygon, an Activision Blizzard spokesman confirmed that the company won't be voluntarily recognizing the union, though noting that while it's deeply respect the rights of employees to unionize, it could not reach an agreement. They wrote a statement right here, though. Personally, my take on it is that I applaud these developers who made the decision to unionize, though, and I actually do support their decision to do this, considering how the workplace at Activision Blizzard has been, to be exact, though. Not to mention stories of how, because they made a lot of money but didn't make all the money in the world, they decided to lay off several employees while they basically, the CEOs, give themselves bonuses. On top of that, the fact that the leadership told them that positive news were coming, and this is their positive news, that they were going to be laid off. Yeah, I could see why this is why they decided to unionize, to be exact, though. Okay, now I understand unions have their ups and downs. Some people, there are certain things unions do right, and there are some things unions do wrong, though. But given the situation surrounding Activision Blizzard lately, though, I do stand with the employees that made a decision to unionize, though. Now, what that means going forward, now that Microsoft will eventually own Activision Blizzard, it remains to be seen. If basically, I'm hopeful that basically they'll be able to continue unionizing, though, under the leadership at Microsoft, to be exact, though. Time will tell if that happens or not, but that remains to be seen. That remains to be seen, to be exact. But overall, I applaud what the employees did, though. I support their decision to unionize, though. I do hope that this sends a clear message to the video game industry as a whole. There needs to be a change, though. We cannot continue to have a situation ranging from workplace conditions, from like what we see in Activision Blizzard, to the issue of crunch, where employees are forced to put these games out on time to meet their quarter earnings, to be exact. There needs to be a change in what's going on. And while unfortunately it doesn't sound like Activision Blizzard is going to recognize the employees at Ravensoft, that software that chose to unionize, again, that could change since Microsoft will eventually own Activision Blizzard. I applaud what they did, and I stand with those employees that made the decision to unionize and all. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 2, and this one has to do with the fact that EA may not be done with Star Wars just yet. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 2 of my 2 cent video for this week. And for this one, I'm going to be taking a look at EA and Star Wars. Now, when Disney purchased Lucasfilms and the rights to Star Wars and even Indiana Jones as well, though, one of the decisions they decided to do was basically give the license over to, say, EA, which was basically the company they chose to pick, though. And for some people, that decision was sort of controversial and did not sit very well with a lot of folks, though. The first one had to do with when Star Wars Battlefront 1 came out, and that didn't sit exactly well with everyone, especially since it was missing a campaign, and it was admitted that EA wanted the game out in times of when Star Wars The Force Awakens came out. Then came Star Wars Battlefront 2, and pardon my language, that turned into one hell of a shitstorm, though. That became an issue with the whole idea of loot box and microtransactions and the way EA was handling the situation. It got so bad that when they talked about the situation on Reddit, it got downvoted. Not only that, mainstream press started to pick up the story to the point that even Disney themselves had to tell EA to basically take the loot boxes out of Star Wars Battlefront 2. And honestly, I still believe, had there been no controversy, though, I don't think Disney would have called EA to tell them to take the loot boxes out. I think they would have left those loot boxes in. It's only when the shit hit the fan that they decided to basically change course on that. But that also didn't end the whole issue of loot boxes, as government officials then decided to look into whether or not loot boxes are considered a form of gambling, though. So yeah, it got all the bad, Battlefront 2 got all the bad press, and EA got eggs on their faces, which was justifiably deserved, to be exact. Combine that with the fact that they have also canceled several projects, ranging from the possibility of a Rogue Squadron game to the fact that one of the developers at Visceral were working on supposedly a single-player experience with Star Wars that basically got pulled the plug as well. And then, of course, they brought out the announcement of Jedi Fallen Order, which many felt was EA's last chance with the Star Wars license, to be exact. And while the game was certainly good, don't get me wrong, it is, and credit to Respawn for what they did with that game, though, it also made some people still were kind of angry at EA, and I am one of those folks, though. The fact that it took this long for EA to actually produce a very good Star Wars game, the fact that we could have gotten actually a good game from like that ragtag Star Wars type thing, instead they focus on how they can milk Star Wars fans to death with Battlefront 2 and loot boxes, though. So that's why, as much as I like Jedi Fallen Order, it still makes me angry of how EA handled the Star Wars license nevertheless. Well, apparently, after a while, though, Disney decided to change course and allow their new studio, Lucasfilm Games, to hand out the license to people who want to work on a game, to be exact, though, as we saw with Ubisoft now working on a Star Wars game. So they decided that EA wasn't going to be the only studio to handle the Star Wars license, something I think Disney should have done in the first place, though. Well, now it seems as though EA doesn't sound like they're completely done with the Star Wars license, but it does sound like it isn't going to be how it once was once EA signed on to work on the Star Wars game, though. In an article posted on VentureBeat, it reads that, quote, EA announced today that Respawn is working on 3 Star Wars games. This includes the Jedi Fallen Order sequel and a new Star Wars first-person shooter from from the Medal of Honor Above and Beyond team. Respawn is also partnering with Bit Reactor on a turn-based tactic game set in a galaxy far, far away. Vance Sempella, group's general manager and founder of Respawn, will oversee all these new Star Wars projects. Bit Reactor is a new Maryland-based studio that includes a number of FIR AXIS veterans. One of the co-founders, for example, worked on XCOM Enemies Unknown and XCOM 2, and the studio has already announced that it wants to innovate in the turn-based tactic genre. But beyond the Bit Reactor game, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order sequel, and the FPS project, EA is done with Star Wars. DICE, which is still putting out fires with Battlefield 2042, which, from what I understand, that game has flopped so hard that EA is consider pushing the game into the free-to-play category, from what I understand. It's focused on the Battlefield franchise going forward, and EA is looking once again to emphasize its own properties. The publisher owned beloved franchises like Dead Space, Dragon Age, and Mass Effect, and it's working on sequels for each of those. By reducing its license fee and centering its own IP, EA is marginalizing some of the risk involved in producing blockbuster AAA video games. Even that level of risk has recently scared the company, but the success of Jedi Fallen Order and the games like Resident Evil 2 Remake at competitor Capcom has changed EA's perception of what can succeed. For Respawn, this means the studio is juggling more responsibilities than ever, and its Star Wars projects are in addition to the ongoing development of Apex Legends. So my reaction on this is somewhat kind of mixed, to be exact, though. I think it's great that Respawn is handling some of these games. They certainly have known to show that they could produce good games, like we saw with Titanfall 2. Apex Legend, again, I'm not a big Battle Royale fan or anything like that, but so far that game seems to be doing very well, though, and their handling of Jedi Fallen Order shows that they can develop a single-player type of a game. So I do have some faith that Respawn Entertainment will be able to handle this, though. Still, it is EA we're talking about, and I still have to remain some cautious to it. EA has been known to make piss poor decisions and ultimately has been known to shut down studios when things don't go the way they want to go, though. We saw how they tried to force every studio to use the Frostbite engine, and we saw how that turned out with games like Mass Effect Andromeda and Anthem, although Anthem also had its own share of issues courtesy of what was going on at BioWare, to be exact, though. And, well, they've also known to shut down studios. They have a history of shutting studios down. Visceral Games is a good example of that. So I am a little bit cautious because of this is coming from EA, though, and the fact that they are probably done with the Star Wars license, part of me makes me happy about that, but part of it makes me kind of concerned, though. I still think that Disney should really consider giving the Star Wars license to other developers out there, and I'm glad that Ubisoft is getting a shot at it, but given Ubisoft's track record, though, I would like for them to look at other studios, to be exact, though. We know that they're working on, supposedly, a remake of Knights of the Old Republic is being worked on, though that decision is kind of debatable from some folks out there. But at the same time, I would like to see them say, like, why not partner up with Nintendo and do like a brand new Rogue Squadron game? That would certainly sit nice with a lot of folks out there, though. So I really think that Disney has the potential of letting other people handle the Star Wars license properly, though. Same with the Marvel license, to be exact. Yes, we've had success like the Spider-Man game. We got the upcoming Wolverine one on the PS5. Marvel Ultimate Alliance 3, The Black Order, did very well. Avengers, iffy on that one. Guardians of the Galaxy, on the other hand, did very well. So, I mean, I would like to see Disney do a better job with the Star Wars license and have other developers handle it, though. But overall, my take on this is that great that Respawn is handling these 3 games, though. I do have some faith that they can handle it, though. They are known to produce good games, to be exact, though. But then again, it is EA we're talking about, so I would approach some of these still with some level of caution, nevertheless, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to part 3. And this one has to do with the future of Call of Duty now that basically, now that eventually Microsoft will own Activision Blizzard. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with part 3 of our My 2 Cent video for this week. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at Call of Duty, especially the future of that franchise, though. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, one of the biggest shockers that happened last week was the announcement of basically Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard. This was very interesting for several reasons. One, the timing of that acquisition was kind of interesting, considering the ongoing sexual harassment and lawsuit that Activision was being put into with the whole situation with that, and them having to deal with that, though. Plus, you also had the issue of unionizations, especially with Raven Software, which I just recently mentioned, though. And two, one of the things, assuming this acquisition 100% goes fully through, and most likely will, would be that Microsoft would own the rights to the Call of Duty series. This is a series that has, while ranked in millions and millions of dollars for Activision Blizzard, it has also had its share of criticisms. Some of the criticisms to that series has been from its yearly release to the game. Some of it has also been the fact that so many studios are working on it that many felt like once Crash Bandicoot 4 was done and that game didn't perform as well as Activision Blizzard hoped for, they pushed them all into doing with Call of Duty Warzone and Call of Duty in general, though. So the series certainly has its share of criticisms, to be exact. Not to mention, when Call of Duty was kind of at its height, it was like almost every studio needed to compete against Call of Duty and all that stuff, and that isn't really true, to be exact. I sort of stopped playing the games after it became clear the direction Activision Blizzard was going. That, and the fact that I felt like it was a little disappointed that they weren't bringing the series to the Nintendo systems, especially for something like the Switch, even though they could develop sort of like a side story Call of Duty, to be exact. And the fact that they focus less on the single player part and focus so much time on the multiplayer part only, to be exact. So for me, though, I've sort of stopped paying attention to it. Well, now that basically Microsoft is going to own the rights to Call of Duty, the question is going to be about its future and what direction Microsoft may go with it, though. And there has been several opinions about what many people feel like what direction it might go. And this article from IGN seems to point out what many might be expecting the direction Microsoft might take Call of Duty in general. So from the article from IGN, it reads that, quote, Bloomberg says that before Xbox announced its $69 billion acquisition of Activision Blizzard, the Call of Duty company had already committed to making the next few Call of Duty games available across all platforms, including PlayStation. According to Jason Schreier, this includes Call of Duty 2022, Call of Duty 2023, and Warzone 2, also planned for 2023. After that, however, the future of Call of Duty outside of Xbox and Windows platform is less clear. Xbox boss Phil Spencer tweeted last week that in calls with Sony exclusives, I apologize if I'm not saying that name correctly, he intends to honor all existing agreements between Activision and Sony. When Xbox acquired ZeniMax Media, the company also reaffirmed its commitment to existing agreements and released Arcane's Deathloop and Tango Gameworks' upcoming Ghostwire Tokyo as PS5 exclusive. But Bethesda's Starfield will be an Xbox console exclusive. Sources familiar with Activision deals said that for the next 2 years at least, Xbox will honor its commitment to release annual Call of Duty games on PlayStation. But when the acquisition is completed by 2022, Microsoft will examine the future of the franchise. This includes determining whether or not to maintain the annual release schedule of Call of Duty has kept over the years. Activision leads have reportedly discussing spacing out new releases. The effect of the Activision Xbox deals will ripple for years to come, but based on how Microsoft's handled acquiring Bethesda, the signs point towards Xbox exclusivity, though experts are split on that matter. Meanwhile, Spencer is already looking at some retired Activision franchise that could be ripe for a revival. So, in terms of what direction Microsoft could take Call of Duty going forward, though, there are certainly several ways they could go with this, though. It is true that Microsoft could take the Minecraft route and allow the games to Call of Duty to continue to be released, or any of Activision Blizzard's IP to be released on multiple platforms. After all, Microsoft let Mojo, if I'm saying the name correctly, the name of the studio though, continue to support Minecraft on multiple systems, even allowing Minecraft Dungeon to appear on multiple systems, including the Nintendo Switch for that matter. However, if I were a betting man, though, even though I'm not really a betting man to be exact, but if I were, I would say the most likely outcome, and I was leaning towards this, is that once the acquisition is fully completed and Microsoft owns the rights to all these series, all of Activision Blizzard's IP, I believe the most likely outcome is going to be, if you want to play these games, you're going to have to either get an Xbox Series S or X, a PC, or be part of Game Pass, to be exact, though. I cannot foresee a scenario that Microsoft is going to allow Call of Duty to be released on other systems, though, to be exact. Yes, some would argue they're going to lose money off of it and all that, but my guess, and I've heard this before, is they're pushing to really drive up the subscriber base with Game Pass, to be exact. So I just cannot see a scenario where they're going to release future entries onto other platforms. I mean, look at Elder Scrolls 6 and look at Starfield as a very good example, to be exact. So it wouldn't really surprise me if Call of Duty basically stays exclusive to the Xbox and Xbox alone and PC as well, though. Again, there's always a possibility they could take the approach they did with Minecraft, or Cuphead, or Ori and the Will of the Wisps, and Ori and the Blind Forest, but I just do not foresee that kind of scenario happening, though. I could be wrong. I could be absolutely wrong, and Microsoft could do that, but I'm leaning more towards the fact that it's going to be exclusive on the PC and the Xbox system, though. As for what to do with Call of Duty in general, my honest opinion is that I really think that they should drop the yearly release, to be exact, though. I'm not a big fan of when developers take the yearly release, because it doesn't give them the time they need to iron out areas that perhaps maybe there's a bug that needs to be addressed. Maybe there are certain features they wish that they could add on it right away. So I really think they should drop the yearly release and give the series a bit of a break. Not kill the series off, but give it somewhat of a break to revise other IPs. Maybe go back to a drawing board and try to bring up the quality with Call of Duty. Maybe offer a better single-player experience. Look at games like Halo Infinite, or, the Doom or Wolfenstein games. Look how well they've done with single-player experience. So maybe offer a good single-player experience with the Call of Duty series, while at the same time deliver a good multiplayer experience. So I do think that this does give the series an opportunity to revive itself in a way, so I'm hopeful that is the case, though. But I do truly believe they should drop the yearly release. At least that's how I'm seeing it, to be exact. So overall, I would say I'm not surprised that Microsoft will honor the existing contracts that were signed that were signed before Activision Blizzard was being purchased. Going forward, however, after those contract obligations are up, the most likely scenario is going to be future Call of Duty entries are only going to be available on the Xbox, the PC, and Game Pass. At least that's how I'm seeing it, to be exact. And I do hope that they drop the yearly release to give developers time to really make a better Call of Duty experience, though. I'm not really a big fan of the yearly release approach, though. Okay, we're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll get to our fourth and final part, and this one has to do with the Switch and the Xbox in terms of sales numbers, at the very least, of where things stand right now with those systems. So we'll take a quick break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we are back with our fourth and final part of our My 2 Cent video. And for this one, we're going to be taking a look at supposedly the sales numbers so far for the Nintendo Switch and the Xbox Series S and S. So now, it's interesting to see where the Switch currently stands right now, as it has broken several milestones and has surpassed certain systems. But it does seem to indicate that basically it may have already surpassed one of its rival consoles, or at least it may have already surpassed the original PlayStation. In an article, believe it or not, from PlayStation Lifestyle, though, it seems to report that according to an estimate from VG Charts, which they have a history of being not always spot on, just to point out, the Nintendo Switch sold 341,662 units this week, bringing its sum total of 102.81 million units. Unfortunately, we won't be getting concrete numbers until Nintendo releases an official financial report on February 3rd. However, if these numbers are correct, it means that the Switch has outsold the original PlayStation console at 102.5 million sales. It also means that the Switch is another step closer to becoming the best-selling console in the world. Its next target is the PS4, which has sold 116.6 million units. The Game Boy is also close at 118.69 million units. The PS2, the best-selling console of all time, is still far bit away at 155 million units total. In terms of the Japanese market, the Nintendo Switch has a strong presence, even compared to the next-gen console. While the PS5 outsold the Xbox Series X and S 10-1, the Nintendo Switch outsold both. Earlier in 2021, an analyst determines that the Switch has pushed PlayStation out of the market. It's no surprise that the Nintendo Switch may dethrone other PlayStation consoles in the near future. Meanwhile, over on the Xbox side, from an article from D1 Softball News, it reads that, quote, Microsoft has released its latest financial report, with which the Redmond giant confirms that the positive trend of its gaming division, to which both the Xbox Series X and S and the increasingly popular Xbox Game Pass contribute. In its third quarter of fiscal 2022, Microsoft posted revenue of $51.7 billion on an annual basis, from a 20% increase, with an operation income of $22.2 billion, equivalent to a growth of 24%. The revenue from gaming grew by 8%, those with hardware sales of 4%, while Xbox content and service showed a 10% increase. The decline in earnings from third-party products were offset by the steady growth in sales of Xbox Series X and S and Game Pass, though. According to several analysts, including Daniel Ahmed, he wrote that hardware sale points out to was $3.7 billion, up to 63.3% year on year, driven by continued demand for the Xbox Series X and S. Xbox Series X production increase helped fulfill some demands better than expected. That's why I don't think people should count the Xbox Series S out entirely. 2021 was a full year of next-gen hardware sales, while 2020 only had the launch quarter of the Xbox Series X and S. In summary, though, the Xbox Series X and S sale is now over 12 million estimate. Xbox Game Pass subscriptions are over 25 million, to be exact, though. And he also added a bit of a fun fact, which is, if you add Xbox revenue plus Project Activision Blizzard's revenue, you get 24.9 billion for 2021. Not that Microsoft recognized its revenue or the deal is closed yet. So obviously we'll have to wait to hear Nintendo release their fiscal earnings, though, to determine where the Switch currently stands. But assuming what VG Charts is saying is correct, though, then that's pretty impressive milestone, to be exact, though. Obviously, we'll still have to wait to see whether it could continue to hit the other milestones, maybe surpassing the PS4, the Game Boy, or even the PS2. Tough hill to climb, to be exact, with that system standing at 155 million units sold very well. But I'm also curious to see what the future holds for the Nintendo Switch, though, especially going into another year with the system compared to where the PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S, to be exact. I mean, does Nintendo want to release a brand new console or a successor to the Switch at this time? I mean, isn't that a big risk to basically cut the head off of the golden goose, the one that keeps laying the golden egg, though? Not to mention, we're still in a chip shortage situation, though. So the question remains, would this be a good time to announce a true successor for the Nintendo Switch, though? Not that I don't deny the fact that Nintendo probably has an idea for a true successor, or probably their R&D is working on one, but the question is, would this be a good time? So, but still, we'll have to hear what Nintendo's fiscal report comes out and see where the Switch currently stands, especially during the holidays. As for the Xbox Series X and S, though, obviously it's doing very well for Microsoft, and they must be pretty happy where things certainly stand. It's definitely, the Xbox Series X and S is definitely in a better position than it was during excuse me, than where the Xbox One is, though. That said, though, obviously Japan has always been sort of a tough spot for basically Microsoft in general, though, but either way, they are still basically doing very well with their system. Game Pass seems to be in a very good position, and obviously that's a big service they are pushing with that system, with Game Pass, to be exact, though. So obviously, Microsoft is in a better position with the Series X and S than they were during the Xbox One, though. Again, we'll still have to wait to hear what Sony and Nintendo have to show with their financial report, but it seems as though Microsoft is doing very well indeed. So overall, though, we still have to wait to hear from what Nintendo is saying, but if what VG Charts is saying is true, though, it could mean that the Switch may have hit another milestone. As for the Xbox Series S and X, though, obviously Microsoft has to be pretty happy where things are standing right now in terms of their gaming division and all. Okay, this concludes this My 2 Cent video for this week. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the idea of Raven Software unionizing? Do you think this is a good idea for Raven Software to do, some of the employees to do this? Do you think this is a bad idea? Do you think Activision Blizzard was wrong not to recognize this unionization in any way? And do you think this could have any kind of impact, especially with Microsoft now slowly starting to own Activision Blizzard? What are your thoughts about EA and this 3 Star Wars games that Respawn Entertainment is working on, though? Do you think Respawn Entertainment is the right studio to work on this, though? Do you think after this that this is going to be the end of EA working on Star Wars game? Do you think that's a good thing in any way? Are you disappointed to hear that Battlefront 3 is not going to happen at all, from DICE to be exact? What are your thoughts about Call of Duty and its future, though? Do you suspect that Microsoft will allow Call of Duty to continue after these contract obligations are up to appear on other systems? Or do you expect the most likely outcome is going to be, if you want to play the next installment of Call of Duty, you're going to have to get either an Xbox Series S and X or an Xbox system, PC, or Game Pass, to be exact, though? And what are your thoughts about what VG Charts has said about in terms of Switch sales to Microsoft announcing their financial earnings, though? Do you think these are very impressive numbers for both the Switch and the Xbox Series systems, though? Do you think that the Switch is going to overtake the original Game Boy or the PS4? Do you think it's possible it could overtake the PS2, or do you think that is a bridge too far? And what about the earnings from the Xbox Series systems and all? Are you impressed that the Xbox systems are doing very well, to be exact? Are you impressed that Game Pass seems to be doing very well? Do you think Microsoft has found success with the Xbox Series X and S systems over the Xbox One? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off on the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you do like this video, I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to. And feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You could do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, wish you all a good day then. Bye!